G'day, welcome back to the 40 channel. So we've spent a fair bit of time doing a lot of cleaning, a lot of rust removing, and the head, mate, it's turned up awesome. Absolutely spot on, mate. Really happy. So we went through a fair bit of stuff to get this, so we went through a whole lot of process to get this clean. And what we're going to do is show you the whole process. Let's get into it.
Awesome.
So after getting this out of the rust remover, it's come up absolutely beautiful. So it doesn't look like it now, but what we're doing is just cleaning up all the inside of these valves. Clean up the top of the head just with this polishing pad. Now it's quite soft, so it will just be able to go straight over the top. I'll show you. So this polishing pad doesn't remove any metal. It's just removing all that carbon buildup and everything else that's built up over the time. But we're not actually wanting to remove any metal whatsoever. Inside, I'm just sort of scratching it around. So just with the wire brush and the drill, we're just working on the inside of here. Now the drill gives us lots of control. We can go as slow or as fast as we need, which is pretty cool. And finally with the scriber, I'm just getting right down the side and just scratching away any of that dirt or carbon or rust that was built up that's left over, just to get right inside and clean this whole thing out completely. Right to the gasket and carbon stripper. So we're cleaning this up absolutely the best we can, and we're going to get all this effort cleaning it up just so that we can do some crack testing, and hopefully we won't find any cracks, otherwise all this cleaning will be nothing. Right, all I'm going to say is this is an absolute little ripper. I tell you, this head has come up amazing. We soaked it in rust remover, we got all the rust out, we spent a lot of time cleaning this, getting it all up to scratch, cleaning out all these valves, cleaning the entire head, cleaning every single little port, water ports, oil ports, a whole lot. But it could all be for nothing if there's a crack in this head. Now I've spent a fair bit of time looking over this and inspecting it. It looks pretty spot on, but it could be the tiniest little hairline crack that could catch us out and put us in a world of pain. So this is where a dye penetrant test kit comes in handy. Well, it's absolutely critical, because this will tell me whether or not this head can be used or not. It's as simple as that. Many years ago, when I first did my apprenticeship, we worked rebuilding locomotives. So I used to work in the motor shop. We stripped the entire traction motor down, and we'd clean them all up, pretty much like we've done here, and then we'd use dye penetrant test kits, find out where they were cracked. It's pretty simple. The first thing we do is we clean it with the cleaner that comes with the kit. So we spray the entire cleaner down. It'll get anything left. Now I know it looks pretty clean, but this will get any of the last little bits that are left. Clean it all up. Once we've cleaned it, we give it a spray with the red dye. We let this red dye sit for about 15 minutes, up to half an hour max. Perfect time to go wash your hands, clean yourself up, go get yourself a cup of tea and come back. Then we'll clean the red dye off. Then we'll give it a final spray with the white powder. And what that will do, hopefully, will show us absolutely nothing. But if there's a crack, this will show it up. Let's get into the cleaning stage. Look at that, I've spent hours cleaning this head and it's still dirty. Okay, next one is our red dye. So this is the dye that penetrates into any little crack or flaw that will possibly be in this head. This is the thing you don't want to see when we spray the white one on in about 20 minutes time. Spray it on. Now it's time to take that opportunity, give yourself a bit of a clean up, go up, make yourself a cup of tea, come back down, wipe this down, and then we'll give it its final check-up to see what it all comes up like. Righto, so I've just gone up the house, made myself a cup of tea, I've walked in and my wife has just looked at me and said, what is on your face? What's going on? I said, what do you mean? She said, there's dirt all over your face. What'd you do? Rub yourself in it? I went, oh. Anyway, so I had no idea that I had dirt and grease all over my face. That was from when I've been cleaning. It's all obviously popped up. Like I said, I spent an hour cleaning this head and it's all come up on me. Anyway, cup of tea. How cool is this little camping mug? Check that out. You can own one of these camping mugs. Just jump on to reefmonkey.com. They've got the mugs, they've got the stickers, they've got these shirts, which is pretty dirty now. They've got a whole lot of cool stuff. Now there was a small drama with the shipping costs coming up and showing some crazy cost, mostly for the overseas guys, I think, and you guys all in Australia. Now the guys at Reef Monkey have put a lot of time and effort in and they've fixed it all up. Jump back on there, check it all out, it's all been fixed up, so happy days. What we're going to do now is we're going to clean that red dye off, going to give it a spray of the white powder, which is the detecting developer, and that will hopefully show nothing. But if it does, it'll show tiny little cracks, flaws, all that type of stuff. You can use this on all sorts of different things. So you can use it on your heads of your vehicles, you can use it on any other component you think might be cracked, you can use it on new welded stuff. It'll show up any cracks and flaws, all that type of stuff. The stuff you don't want to see, but you might not know it's there. Let's clean it up, let's get into this, finish this process off. I'm gonna go back up to the house after this and sit by the fire. It's been a big day of cleaning. Right, the first thing I'm gonna do just is a clean rag. I'm just gonna wipe off all the excess red dye, which is just sitting in there now. Give it a spray down on the surface. Let it sit for a little bit. All right, as you can see, it's pulled some of that red dye back up. It looked like it was clean. Have a really good look to see if we can find any microscopic hairline cracks, because if it was any bigger than that, it would have shown up and I would have seen it straight away. So we're just gonna have a really, really good look now. I am totally stoked. I can't see anything and I'm extremely confident to say that there is not a single crack or even a hairline mark on this head. And it is in excellent condition. So all we'll do now, we'll clean that back off. Right, so we're nearly at the stage where we can start putting this head all back together. But we're checking the straightness of the head. So we're running a straight edge along multiple different planes using the feeler gauge, 0.15 of a millimeter or 0.006 of an inch, so 1/6 thou. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done to it. One, our valves look like this. So there's still a stack of work that needs to be done to the head and the valves to get it ready. Now our valves are not in the best condition, so what we're going to do is we're going to clean them all up. Now there's a stack of different ways to clean them up, and ideally it'd be awesome if you had like a valve grinding machine, but we don't. So we're going to use an angle grinder. That pause for all you guys going, what the heck, an angle grinder? You can't use an angle grinder on valves. So it might sound extreme, but we're actually taking the absolute care we can. So what a lot of people do is you get your old Scotch-Brite pads and you can clean them up. They put them in a drill press or a drill and they spin them around and they clean them up with a Scotch-Brite pad, some R1, and they clean up absolutely beautiful, just like this. But we want to be super careful with this surface right here. We don't want to damage, mark, or remove any metal from that surface because that's the surface we're going to do some valve lapping on. But the cool thing is, from Tool King, what we're going to be using is basically a Scotch-Brite pad that fits onto a grinder. Now basically what they're used for is cleaning and polishing metal. So the cool thing is you can get them in a different ranges. Now I think you can get them from as low as 180 grit, but I'm not exactly sure, I don't have that low, right up to 1000 grit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to clean off a whole lot of this carbon and rust build up here on the back. The first thing we're going to do to clean up all this sort of build up of carbon and rust and whatever other impurities are on there that we don't want, is just going to use this tiny little wire wheel that goes on the end of a drill. Now what we want to do, again, we want to make sure that we only work on the spaces that have no machine surfaces that aren't going to make any contact to our valve seals. We don't want to do any damage to that whatsoever. So basically the way I'm working is like this. With a little wire wheel, I'm just coming in here, I'm just cleaning over the back of it, just to build up, just to remove all this build up. Then we can use our cleaning and polishing pad to remove the rest. Once they're all cleaned up, then we can put them all back inside the head, and then we can put our valve lapping paste on and lap all the valves. Anyway, let's get into it. Like always, safety glasses. We'll give them a little bit of a spray of R1 to start with, and we'll start cleaning it up. Righto, so that there's cleaned up really nicely. Now you can see now we've revealed the Toyota symbol right here in the center. We've got an I, an N, an F. I don't actually know what any of that means. I'm just going to take a stab in the dark, and maybe that F means it's an F motor, maybe the I means ignition, and the N means never gives up. I don't know, I'm making that up. Now you can see we've cleaned up this surface, and we haven't touched this surface whatsoever with your finger, so we can either get a razor blade, just clean that back up. Now we're going to give it a final bit of a clean up with our Scotch-Brite pad and a bit of R1. Alright, so now we've got all the valves cleaned up. The next thing we need to do is we need to lap all the valve seats on the head. Whatever your favourite valve grinding paste is, I just happen to have this particular brand here. Seems to be the most common. We're going to get our valve, clean it all up. Now have a look at the surface. The exhaust surface on all of them are by far the worst, and the intake surface is not too bad, but it's still a little bit pitted, so it certainly needs to be cleaned up. So what we need to do is we just get our valve grinding paste, a lint-free cloth. ChemTools actually sell these as well, which is really, really cool. You can see the exhaust and the intake. Now I'm just going to get me valve, the paste. Just going to put 3 little dabs on just like that. I'm going to spray the shaft with some R1, so it's got some lubricant in there when we spin it around. We're going to slide it up into our valve guide. Right, and then here on the back side of it, we're going to get our drill. I'm only grabbing on to the top end part here. And then while we run the drill, just going to run it in low speed. We're just going to come in and out like this. And we're going to constantly reverse the drill. So change the direction of the drill as we go. Right, so I've been running that for about 5 minutes or so, and you can actually hear the difference from a really harsh grinding noise. And as you keep working it in and out, changing direction, you can actually start to hear that grinding noise start to disappear. And what's actually happening as you're working it, the paste actually changes its grit. So it goes from a harsh grit, as it wears down to a finer grit, obviously becomes finer and actually works for itself. Now what I'm going to do in that last stage of it, just going to give it a really light little spray, just with some R1, and that'll give it a little bit of lubricant for our last final touch and hopefully give it another cleaner surface. We'll see how it comes up. Let's pull that out and let's have a look at how it all turned out. It's come up really good on the valve. Let's have a look at the seat. Just cleaning it up with some of the gasket carbon and residue stripper. It seems to work really well. Put a little spray in there. Wipe it all down. Righto, look at that. That looks fantastic. There's no pitting, no score marks. I'm really happy with that. Right, so we're up to number 2 with the exhaust, and it is probably the worst of the lot. And that's where we had, as you know, we had 2 and 3. Those cylinders were bound up, and they took a fair bit of work to get out, but the bore cleaned up awesome. I'm pretty confident the process we got. We continue on this, it'll clean up and we won't have an issue. Let's make it happen. Righto, I'm up to the last valve. This is not being a slow process at all. It's been quite a lengthy one. So don't think just because it's happened a couple minutes on YouTube that you're going to expect that this is going to be a quick process, because it's not quick at all. But last one, so that's pretty exciting. Rubber gloves, just spraying with fun with some R1. That way I can push on the back of the valve just to give it a bit more pressure, and it lubricates it as it spins around. Pretty cool actually. Let's pull it out and have a look at it. Some of them I've had to do a couple times. So you clean it all up, put a bit more paste on, and then go again. This one didn't look as bad as some of the others, so hopefully one trick wonder will be right. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Righto, so that's been a good few hours that have passed cleaning these valve seats up, cleaning all the valves up. I'm really happy with the outcome. I'm going to call it a day. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll try to put the rest of the valves in. We've got our little retainer locks. All I'm going to do here is just get some grease. I'm just using some Molly-Tack grease. Put it on the inside of both of them. That sort of help me when I go to put it back on. Try to squeeze this back down. Now this is playing up a lot.
That's right. Are you video of that?
Yeah.
No, that's right.
The grease is just reholding those retainer clips on. Now we can release that back. And we're done. Righto. Do that 11 more times and we're golden. Righto, so that's pretty exciting. The head is finally back together. So really, whoever would have thought the head would have been such a big job. Massive big cleanup, rust removal, crack testing, making sure it's all square, cleaning up all the valves, lapping them up, and reinstalling them all. So it all went well. My valve spring compressor, it sort of gave up the ghost at the end there. It was really difficult. It just, no matter what I did, it just kept wanting to fly open. The over center locking just wouldn't lock anymore, so that was unfortunate. Anyway, these things happen. Alright guys, I thank you so much for all your support through my channel. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and I know a lot of you guys appreciate that. So I really appreciate you guys dropping me a line on my email, on Instagram, sharing your builds with me. That's really inspirational to me. Keep it up, guys, and until next time, take care of yourselves.